after doing corruption, when the management asks him and he is investigated, then he is continuously denying the action performed by him.
Yes.
This is called repudiation, because the organization do not have any proof against him, right? So
Okay.
that means he can clearly deny that I didn't do that thing. But
Okay.
non-repudiation means that a proof due to which a person cannot deny the action performed by him. That
Yes.
is the concept of non-repudiation,
Non-repudiation.
right? So non-repudiation is very important in concept of or in terms of security, because when
Okay.
we achieve non-repudiation, that means we can actually track that which actions are performed by which users,
Yes.
right? So
It's a proof.
yes, exactly, it's the proof, exactly.
Yeah.
So due to which we can actually we can even ask and imply if he did some wrong thing, or if he or she violated the security policy of the organization,
Okay.
right? So this is the non-repudiation. And in order
Thank
to
you.
achieve non-repudiation, the concept used is in cybersecurity we normally use digital signatures,
Yes.
right? So you may be asked that which concept is used to achieve non-repudiation, right? And
Okay.
options
That is
may
divi-
be, and there may be a lot of options, for example encryption, hashing, and things like that. And
Yes.
you will pick the right answer, and that will be the digital signatures,
Signature.
right?
Okay.
Digital
Thank you.
signatures are used to achieve non-repudiation.
Non
You can actually relate digital signatures with actual signatures. For example, if you go to a bank and you want to withdraw some money from your account, you put your
Yes.
sign on the checkbook, right?
Yes.
And the bank
Yes.
will verify that these signatures are actually yours. So that
Yeah.
is the proof that it's the actual person who owns the bank account and he is actually withdrawing the money.
Yes.
Right? That is the non-repudiation.
Non-repudiation. Okay.
Okay. So do not confuse between repudiation and non-repudiation,
And non-repudiation. Okay.
right? Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So there is another question that I normally saw in the exam, that is about multi-factor authentication. That's not the
Yes.
exact question, but it is very similar. For example, let me
Yes.
ask you a question that from the real life, that when you go to ATM, you perform a transaction, you enter
Yeah.
your ATM card, and then you enter your
Yes.
PIN. So
Yes.
what authentication type is followed in this transaction mechanism? Is
A
it
multi-factor.
single factor authentication or multi-factor authentication?
Multi-factor, because there are two types are used, because one is card, that is something I have, and
Yes,
another thing is something I know.
yes, exactly, right? So in this way, you can actually dissect, or you can uh, divide the question into simple parts, and then understand the question and answer those questions, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So there is the risk management process that we already discussed earlier, and
Yes.
there are three
Yes.
types of controls that are technical, administrative,
Yeah.
and physical.
Yeah.
These are very simple, but I want you to explain me and explain in your own words the three types
Okay.
of controls.
Yeah. The one thing is technical control. That
Mhm.
is by using the configuration of some ICT devices like
Yes,
firewalls, rules, uh, that things which is related to technically actually.
yes,
And the
exactly.
administrative control is another thing that is fully related to the management policies, procedures, trainings, awareness programs, which is organized or circulated by administrator or management of an organization.
Okay.
And physical control is something that is tangible,
Hmm.
visible,
Okay.
uh, like this.
Can you provide me any example of physical control?
Yeah, yeah. The physical control is the man traps.
Yes.
Okay, the fence, physical
Hmm.
control, fence, wall,
Okay.
wall. Those things are physical control. Administrative control is policies, awareness training,
Okay.
procedures,
Okay.
and the technical control is a firewall configuration,
Okay.
uh, or any device configuration, and which is forbidden by technically.
Okay. So there is one more thing I want you to understand, that is that these controls, understanding these controls, basically they depend heavily on the context in which the question is asked. For example, a control may seem physical, but according to the
Yeah.
questions, that control may be called an administrative control, or
Yes.
a control may be seems technical, but in terms of the question, that control may act as a physical control.
Yeah. Like
Uh,
card reader,
yes.
digital card reader, batch reader. That is seems like a technical, but that is physical actually.
So basically, let me give you an example. For example, there is a question
Yeah.
that
Okay.
says, your organization have cameras deployed on the perimeter of the organization, right? So what type of control is this?
Uh,
Is this a technical control, or is this a physical control, or is this an administrative control?
cameras is
Look, I will repeat the question. Your organization has cameras deployed on the perimeter of the organization, and when a person,
yeah.
let me expand it so that you can better
Yes.
understand it, because the clarity is important. So
Yeah.
when a person has to enter the organization, the cameras first take the image of that
Yeah.
person, and
Yeah.
then when the person is authenticated, then only the gate is opened for him. So what type of control is this?
But that is physical.
Yes, exactly. That is physical. So in this case, the cameras are actually maybe we can misinterpret the cameras as technical, because they are
Yes.
controlled by a technical system. But in order to
Yes.
understand that, the actual thing that we need to understand is the purpose they are serving. If they are
Okay.
actually controlling the physical access, that means they are
Yeah.
physical control,
Yeah.
right? Because they are
Okay.
controlling physical access to the door of the organization, or gate of the organization, or entry point of the organization. That means they are known as physical controls,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And similarly, one
Yeah.
more thing that are
आप उर्दू में बोलिए या या अच्छे क्योंकि you can give more example or more you can go deeper solution
hmm
and I understand your language clearly,
ओके,
no problem.
फिर तो काफी अच्छी बात है. Then that is
Yeah,
good.
thank you.
अच्छा, हमारे पास ना एक बायोमेट्रिक कंट्रोल्स होते हैं.
Yes.
बायोमेट्रिक कंट्रोल्स जो हैं, इन्हें हम टेक्निकल कंट्रोल्स के तौर पे भी यूज कर सकते हैं, और फिजिकल कंट्रोल के तौर पे भी यूज कर सकते हैं.
Yes.
So, can you give me an example where these biometric controls are used as physical controls?
Yes. Oh my, if the control is related to iris or thumbs
Hmm.
fingerprint, that is I think technical.
Okay.
And if the biometric is through our thought or talk, the voice,
Hmm.
uh, that is physical, I think.
Basically, we need to look at the controls in this context. If the controls are used to control physical access to a building or area, then they are known as
Yes.
physical control. For
Physical
example, let
control.
me give you an example. There is a warehouse, right? And here
Yes.
they have a biometric scanner deployed. This biometric scanner scans the thumb impression of a person that needs to enter the building. And when a
Yes.
person scan his thumb, and if he gets authenticated, the door will gets automatically opened,
Open.
right? So which
Then
type
it
of,
is physical.
Yes, now this is a physical controller, right?
Physical.
So
Right.
we cannot say that control is totally physical or totally technical. It depends on the
Right.
question or depends on
Scenario. The
yes,
scenario.
the scenario or the context which actually
Yeah.
matters. So in this case, this biometric is known as physical control,
Physical.
right? Now let me give you an example where these biometric controls can also be used as a technical control. But
Okay.
before that, let me ask you, can you give me an example where the biometric controls can be used as technical controls?
Yeah. Symmetric control.
Look,
Go ahead.
let me provide you the definition of technical controls. Technical controls are those which provides or which controls access to the system or an IT system,
Yes.
or resource or a communication channel, right? So this is related to
Okay.
the
Then then
logical.
then 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 that is the laptop fingerprint.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you. The
Yes,
cache reader or something which is related to technical, which is giving
exactly.
us the solistic, right?
Right. So
Thank
now
you.
you know the actual difference. So the controls are
Ah,
category or controls are divided into types based on the access they are controlling. If they are controlling the
yes.
physical access, they are known as physical controls.
Physical control.
Right? If
Yes.
they are controlling the logical access, for example, firewall,
Yes.
antivirus, or even a
Yes.
biometric control can act as a logical control. For example, a person needs to log into his mobile phone, just like we have
Mobile
a
phone.
feature in iPhone
Yes.
or latest
Yes.
phones that they use face recognition to unlock the phone,
Yes.
right? So in that case, we are not actually physically entering into any area. We are
Yes.
logically accessing our phone. So in that
Device. Right.
case, that face recognition system is known as
Yeah.
technical, right?
Yes.
Technical control, right?
Yes.
So there is a very thin line between these two controls, so that needs to be understood because
Yeah.
they seems very easy. They seems very easy, right? So
Yes.
and we can actually misunderstand them very easy. We can say like if a control is physical, then he is a
Yeah.
physical. It is a physical control, but that is not the case, right?
Not case. Right.
Because a biometric device is actually physical, but that device can actually control logical access
By logical or technical. Control
logical
by
access,
technical.
and then that device will be known as technical or logical control, right? So it depends
Yes.
that which type of access our device is controlling, and based on that
Right.
thing we actually divide or categorize it in these two things,
Yeah.
right?
Makes sense.
Yes. So I hope so that
Thank you.
this is beneficial for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Sure.
Okay, so let me give you another perspective of the controls, and those are the preventive, and you learned about those categories of controls also.
Preventive, detective,
Yes, preventive, detective control,
corrective.
corrective controls. Yes, and there is another one that is known as directive control.
Directive.
Right. So directive is basically related to the direction or
Yeah.
guideline. So that is related to administrative control. Right. Corrective means something that is trying to correct or fix a damaged thing or
Yeah.
restoration. Right. Now
Yeah.
inside the question, uh, based on the question, a control may be a preventive control, or it may falls under detective control, or it may falls under corrective control, right?
Okay.
But that
Okay.
depends on the question, just like we did in this case. For
Yes.
example, if we take the example of this thing, cameras, if the question says that an organization deployed cameras to detect
Yeah.
any suspicious person or activity, then what
Yeah.
category?
It's detective. It's
Yeah,
detective.
yes, exactly. That is detective control. And a question may be asked that a door lock is an example of, and it may have these type of four options. So a door,
Uh, door lock. Preventive.
Yes, exactly. Because it is preventing any unauthorized person from entering the
Someone or
area.
something.
Yes, exactly. Right. So similarly, and a question may be asked like, if a system is affected by a malware and you run anti-malware solutions,
Yeah.
to remove the malware from the systems, then
Corrective.
what did you say?
Yeah. Anti-malware system is related to combination of two things, I think. That is preventive, corrective also.
Okay, so based on the question, let me ask you the question again. We run anti-malware solution after the virus damaged the system, and we
Okay.
need to remove the malware and restore the system to its initial state. So now,
So that is corrective
yes, exactly. That is a corrective control because we are talking about the restoration,
after
right?
incident.
But yes, but if the question is like, we have installed an anti-malware solution in our system to detect viruses or malwares,
Yeah.
then it will be known as detective,
Detective.
right?
Detective.
Or if we say we have deployed a firewall so that no
Yeah. But
unauthorized data packets will enter our network, then in this case,
yes,
firewall will act as a preventive control,
preventive.
right?
Preventive.
So in this
Right.
case, in the same way, we should focus on the question, and then we should understand the sense of the question,
Yeah.
right? That is very important thing,
What important, right?
right?
Patience.
Do not jump on the conclusion by reading just one word, or
Yes.
reading just the question only once. You should read the
Thank
question almost at least two times,
two times.
right? You will be given 2 hours in the exam, and 2 hours are more than enough. I remember that I have done the whole exam in just 1 hour.
Yeah,
And
I heard from your YouTube
yes,
tutorial
and there is,
how you pass the ICC. I all go through all of your tutorial.
okay, thank you. There was still 1 hour left. So
Yeah,
time was not a
and you
problem.
reach the center half an hour before.
Yes, exactly. You need to reach the center. It is better that you reach there half an hour before,
Yeah,
and also keep
because there is
your
some
national ID card, and
passport.
passport will also be okay. Yes, because
Yeah.
they require you to have two types of
Identity.
documents
Good identity.
through which you can prove your identity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Then.
So I have explained this whole mind map in a separate video also. I
Yeah.
think you have also seen about that.
Yeah.
This
Also.
diagram.
Yes.
Okay.
Mind map.
Yes, exactly. The mind map. So there is the domain that is security operations, and most of people ignore this domain because it is a
Yeah.
little bit complex also, because it talks about encryption and hashing and
Yeah.
things like that, system hardening, configuration management, which are totally new
Yes.
concepts, right? So there is one thing that is called as classification.
Yes.
In terms of security, normally we call like classify based on value. There is a saying that we should classify our asset based on the value they have, and
Yes.
protect the asset based on classification. So there are two, you can say, quotations, right?
Yes.
Or you can say there are two policies that are strongly followed in organization. The number one is
Yes.
classify based on value. That means
Value.
first we need to understand the value of an asset. Now let me know in which phase of business risk analysis do we find out the value of an asset? Can you give me an idea?
Sorry, I missed.
In which phase of the risk assessment process do we find out about the value of an asset?
In which phase? That is PIA business impact
Risk,
analysis.
not risk management. Or, yes, we can say risk management or risk assessment. Risk assessment process has one crucial step that in which we need to find out about the value of the assets, and then we need to find out about the impacts an asset has in case a threat occurs or in case something happens, an incident happens.
Yes.
So what does that step known as?
Uh, can you make it more clear or an example?
Yes, let me tell you. In that step, we normally finds out
उर्दू में
finds out okay. उर्दू में हम ये कह सकते हैं कि हम जब ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के अंदर रिस्क मैनेजमेंट कर रहे होते हैं या रिस्क असेसमेंट कर रहे होते हैं, तो हम सबसे
Okay.
पहले तलाश करते हैं कि हमारे की एसेट्स कौन कौन से हैं, फिर हम उनको
Yes.
प्रायोरिटी देते हैं कि जो
Yeah,
सबसे
yes,
ज्यादा अहम,
depends on sensitivity.
यस एग्जैक्टली, जो सबसे ज्यादा अहम एसेट है उसे ज्यादा प्रायोरिटी देंगे। फिर उसके बाद
Yes.
हम फाइंड आउट करते हैं कि अगर कोई थ्रेट आ जाए ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के
Yeah.
अंदर, तो वो हमारे
Yes.
एसेट्स को किस किस तरह इम्पैक्ट कर सकता है।
Right. Right. The likelihood and impact
यस
analysis.
एग्जैक्टली एग्जैक्टली। So what is the name of that actual phase? That is a very important phase of risk assessment.
Identification.
Okay, now let me tell you that phase has a shortcut. We normally call it BIA.
Oh, BIA, that is business impact analysis.
Yes, exactly. In business impact analysis, we first need to do the classification based on value. That means the
Yeah.
first thing is finding the value. The second thing is
Value.
to do the classification. Now,
Yes.
classification is of two types. Normally, in government organization, we do some type of classifications like unclassified data, and then we have classified data above level, and then we have sensitive data, and then we have sensitive, classified, then we have
Yes.
confidential, then we have
Confidentiality.
top secret. So
But that
these
is
normally these are the levels in a government organization. These are the
high value,
classifications level.
moderate value, low value, and
Yes, exactly. Things like that.
right, the
Right.
4 types.
Yes, then that is known as classification because we do the classification of our assets or our data based on the value.
Yeah.
We first find out
Yes.
the value, how much important that data or that asset is to our organization.
Need to protect it.
Yes, if it is too much critical, then we will apply this top secret classification to that. If it
Yes.
if it is not of much value, if it is open to public, that will be classified as unclassified or public data, right?
Public data.
Yes.
Yes.
So after classification, then we actually start the process of protection,
Yes.
right? So we
Yes.
protect based on the classification. If we do not do
Yes.
a classification, how can we know what type of controls do we need to deploy on the data?
Need to protect. Yes. Which
Yes,
is
exactly.
more which we need to more concern or
Yes,
protect.
exactly. So we need to actually put our most focus on this classification,
Classification.
right? So then we do
Yes.
protection, and in protection process we deploy security controls,
Yes.
right? And these
Right.
security controls then falls under the categories or types, whether administrative, physical, or technical, or whether
Technical.
detective, right? So now you know
Right.
that how these all the domains are connected to each other. Did you got
Yes.
the point that
Yes. Yeah. I got it.
this is security operations domain, but it is still
Yes.
connected to our domain access control concepts, because in this
Yes.
domain we learned about the types of controls,
Right.
right? So this is how we
Right.
can find out that these domains are interconnected.
To one another, and everything is connected to CIA triad.
Yes, everything is actually connected to CIA triad, right? So in iSc2 exam, what they do that they actually connected the domains and then they ask questions. Just like
Okay.
I clarify this thing to you, which actually connecting two domains, security operations and access control concepts. So
Yes.
similarly,
Yes.
they will ask you a question, and that question may be related to your first domain, but the
Yes.
thing that is asked in the question that may be related to your second domain or third domain.
Second domain. Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
So that
Yes.
is the thing. So that is very important, that we should understand the connections between the domains.
Exactly.
Okay.
Tricky. Very tricky.
Yes. So let me give you an example. For example, they may give you an example like an organization. An organization has
Yes.
published a document which provides detailed steps
Yes.
on how to act, or how employees should act in case of an emergency situation,
Yes.
right? So
Right.
the options will be that these steps are known as policy
Procedure.
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 Yes, exactly, procedure. Yes, because procedures are the detailed steps that are followed by an employee in the organization, and these
The
are
steps or
step
process or
step by step
something.
procedure.
Yeah.
Right. There is one more question that okay, let me also tell you a hint that when we talk about cyber security, basically
Yes.
the term cyber security in its purest form is a managerial level job, or it's a pure managerial
Yes.
term, right? uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
no organization wants their cyber security advisor or cyber security manager to know how
Yes.
to use Kali Linux. Right?
Yes.
They didn't ever mention that.
Yes.
The normally the skills mentioned for a cyber security manager job role will be to perform risk
Yes.
assessment, to perform vulnerability assessment, or to
Yes.
actually create organizations security management or security mitigation strategies, right?
Okay.
So just keep in mind that this is a pure managerial thing. You need to
Think.
think like a manager, right? When you sit
Yeah.
in the exam,
Yeah.
you should think that you are a manager of an organization.
Yes.
So then you should focus on the question and think that as
Question.
a manager, how will you respond to that question, right?
Yes. Yes.
That is a good thing that as a cybersecurity manager should have the knowledge of protocols, or if
Yes.
if
That,
the
that is very basic. So that without the base, without
yes,
the root, we can't
yes,
decide.
exactly. But he
We can
don't.
decide. That's why.
Yes, but he do not have to understand everything in detail. He do not have to
Technical in
know
detail.
how
Technical,
the
right?
mathematical aspects of encryption
Yes.
standards work. He do not have to know how the actual details of hashing algorithm works, or how to create
Yes.
a hashing
How
algorithm,
to come?
right? He do not need to know
Which
that.
is done by Cisco. Cisco is always focusing on the technical things,
Yes.
support things.
Okay. So
Okay.
now we actually understand a lot of things, and there is one more thing that is related to this configuration management.
Yes.
And there are three things in configuration management. Those are baselines, updates, and patches.
Patches. Yes.
Okay. Can you explain these three to me?
Yeah. Baseline is anything which is the standard minimum configuration is known
Yes,
as the baseline configuration.
exactly.
Minimum, which is we must need to deploy in an organization to ensure the minimum level of security.
Okay,
And
yes.
the update and patches are the things which we need after the configuration, change management, or something like this. There is we need to update the system. We need to patching the system so that we can consider the baseline and we can further improving our system by updating or patching the
Yes,
system or
exactly.
something.
So the baseline is you can understand it like that. If we need to install a game, the game actually states the minimum system requirements, right?
Yes.
So baselines are like that. Organizations actually publish a baseline document that means these minimum security requirements should be met. These are the minimum requirements, right?
Yes.
And
Minimum requirement. Yeah.
on top of that, updates will be published or updates will be installed. Just like we have
After that.
Windows and then we get updates by Microsoft.
Yeah, several versions.
right? Yes, variants we can say. And patches are, if a vulnerability is discovered, then the organization can release a patch to fix that
Yes,
vulnerability,
yes,
right? You can
yes.
take the idea of a patch from patch in our real
Management.
life, in our real
Yes,
life,
yes, yes,
just like we
yes,
have
yes,
a cloth which is torn in between. So
yes.
what can we do? We will apply a patch to actually.
Patch. And another thing I remember
Address.
that is rollback.
Yes,
Maybe that is configuration related things. The rollback, because if the patches and updates is not in work, so that we have to ensure that we can roll back our system.
yes, exactly. So that is also known as rollback changes.
Yeah, yeah,
So
rollback
our system should be able to go back to the previous stage if the
stage.
configuration didn't work or if any
Yes,
update didn't work, right?
yes,
That is the
exactly.
actual purpose of configuration management. If we
That
didn't
is,
do configuration management and if we actually apply these updates or patches blindly, our
yes,
system can actually, if something bad happens, so we will get tough time to recover that, and our business
yes,
can get impacted, right? So
definitely,
that is why
definitely.
in configuration management we have to make sure that we can roll back to any previous or initial stage if in any case the patches or updates will not work as expected,
Yes,
right? So that is the actual purpose of configuration management,
definitely.
right? So you may be
Yes,
asked the question, right, what is system hardening?
yes. The system hardening is of any option.
System Can you explain it in your own words?
Yeah, system
You can
hardening
actually
is
take a hint from this word,
actually the
hardening.
hardening of the surface of uh, our system, hardening the surface so that the victim or the attacker can't access easily to our system. That
Okay.
is hardening. We can
Yes,
harden our system
yes,
by
exactly.
considering, right?
Yes, you are right. So system hardening, that means we should take care of the vulnerabilities in the system, and we should
Yes,
continuously keep it fixed and keep the system
yes,
updated so that it
and
stays hard and strong and healthy,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
That is that is why
Ready to fight.
we keep this thing inside system hardening. In order to harden our system, we should have configuration management in our organization, and inside configuration management we should have baselines, updates and patches.
Line update, yeah,
If we do not update our system, if we do not patch our system, then it will
yes,
be easier for attackers to attack on our system. For example,
system.
let's consider I am using Windows 7 or Windows XP
Yes, yes,
in this age. Then
yes.
it will be very easy for an attacker to attack
The
on my
attacker
system
to right,
because
right.
I am not updated,
Updated, right.
right?
It's a risk
Yes. And there are some type of policies that are very common in
policies.
organizations. You should also know about that.
Right, right,
Can you
right.
tell me about this acceptable use policy?
Yeah, the minimum requirements or minimum standard of an organization, like laptops, tabs, printers, or which we need a acceptable level to ensure the security.
Yes.
Uh,
Or you
so
can basically
we can't use the 7 machine, or we can't use below 8 generation computer laptop in our system.
yes, exactly. For example, an organization has a policy that you cannot play games on systems given to
Yeah,
you by the organization. So that is the
it's related
acceptable
to
use policy.
maybe it's related to internet, maybe it's related to desktop using websites, blah blah things.
Yes, exactly.
Which organization
So also
we
can you
can go there? We can go. Yeah,
uh,
bring your own device. Yeah, it's related to personal belongings, right? Personal tabs, personal mobiles, personal laptops.
yes,
It
exactly.
should be come up through a policy, organization policy.
Yes,
मैं ये
exactly.
यूज कर सकती हूँ या नहीं कर सकती हूँ.
बिल्कुल ऐसे ही
We
है.
need, right.
Exactly. And there is a very important policy that is known as
Change
change
management.
management policy.
Yes, yes. I know that is
Okay.
change management is something because the technologies is growing up and we need to change our system regularly. That's why by considering the present system configuration, we need to further update our system by considering the change management policy, because we need to raise a request for change, then approve it from the higher official, then we make the change.
Yes,
And after
exactly.
change, we need to follow up.
And also before doing any change, normally we either take the backup of the system, or
Yes.
we take a screenshot, that is known as an image of the
So that,
system, so that
yes,
if
that is
anything goes
also
wrong.
related to rollback.
Yes, exactly. That is also related to rollback. And why we do this? Which concept do we need to preserve by doing this? Can you give me an
Yes.
answer? We need to preserve confidentiality, or we need to preserve availability, or we need to preserve.
Availability.
Yes,
Availability. That
yes,
is.
exactly. So that our system should not go down,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
we have only 1 minute left. Can you tell me about the feedback of the class? How did it
Yeah.
went?
Yeah. That is very, very, very useful for me, and it makes my confidence level high or higher.
Thank you.
And you are expert in
No,
teaching things.
I'm not an expert
You are
basically.
expert in teaching. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. And the key is working or not? The Windows key.
I didn't test that. Them I will
Okay,
test
test it.
them today.
Test it. Let me
Okay.
know.
Okay.
And
Good luck for the test and get a good sleep.
thank you.
And do not worry about
Thank you.
everything. Okay. Everything
Okay,
will
okay,
be okay.
problem. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
I will contact you after I completed
Yes,
the test.
exactly. Okay. Allah
Assalamu
Hafiz.
alaikum warahmatullah.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Assalamu alaikum.